Have you ever found yourself staring at your phone, wondering how to ask her, how to take that next step toward intimacy without coming across as needy, awkward, or desperate? You know that moment when you want to connect deeper, but your chest feels heavy with hesitation? What if I told you that the secret lies not in some pickup line, but in the way you carry yourself, the way you think, and the way you embody a kind of calm strength that women can feel without you even speaking? Stick with me until the end of this video, because I'm going to share not just psychological tricks, but timeless Stoic wisdom, especially from Marcus Aurelius, that can completely change how you approach intimacy. And hey, if you're new here, welcome to Stoic Current. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and keep watching until the end, because this might just change your love life forever. Now, let me start with a story. There was a guy I knew, let's call him Daniel. Daniel was smart, kind, and funny, but when it came to intimacy, he froze. He was so terrified of rejection that he avoided even the chance of being close. One evening, sitting with a woman he deeply liked, he overthought every word, every gesture. And do you know what happened? Nothing. Silence, missed opportunity. She eventually said, "You're sweet, but I don't feel that spark." When Daniel told me this, I remembered the words of Marcus Aurelius. If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. And I realized intimacy is never about manipulation. It's about being true to yourself and honest with her, while holding the strength of self-control. That's where real attraction begins. Insight 1. Power over your mind, not hers. Let me ask you something. Have you ever been in that moment where you're sitting across from a woman you really like, and your mind is running faster than your heartbeat? You're wondering, should I say it now? What if she rejects me? What if I ruin everything? We've all been there. That voice in your head is louder than her voice in front of you. And you know what? That's exactly where most men fail, because they think the battle is with her, when in reality the battle is inside themselves. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." Take a second and let that sink in. You don't control whether she says yes or no. You don't control whether she's in the mood, or whether she feels the same spark at that exact moment. What you do control completely, without question, is your own mind, your own state, your own presence. Let me share a quick story. There was this guy, let's call him Adam. He was charming, had a good sense of humor, but every time he wanted to ask a woman out or move things toward intimacy, he froze. His brain would spiral into every possible rejection scenario. He'd picture her laughing in his face, telling her friends, or just walking away. And because he obsessed over those outside events, he never asked. You know what happened? The women he liked just moved on, thinking he wasn't interested. Here's the thing. When your mind is enslaved by fear, hesitation, and overthinking, you kill the moment before it's even born. And I want you to reflect on your own life right now. Has this ever happened to you? Have you ever liked someone, but your thoughts were so loud that you ended up doing nothing only to regret it later? If yes, you're not alone. But you don't have to stay stuck there. Think about it this way. When you walk into a room with calm energy, grounded, not needing anything from anyone, people feel it. A woman feels it. She can sense when a man is at peace with himself. That's what Stoicism teaches us. When Marcus said, "You have power over your mind," he was giving you the ultimate relationship advice centuries before modern psychology existed. So how do you apply it? Simple. Stop trying to control her reaction. Release that weight. Instead, focus on how you show up in that moment. Breathe slower, smile gently, ask with honesty, because once you stop clinging to the outcome, you become magnetic. And ironically, that's when she's more likely to respond positively. Here's the paradox. The less you try to control her, the more attractive you become. Why? Because confidence is born from inner control, not outer control. Insight 2. Ask with presence, not pressure. Let me paint a picture for you. Imagine you're sitting with someone you really like. The air feels charged, your heart's racing, and you finally decide, okay, I'm going to ask. But instead of being calm, your words stumble out like, maybe if you want to, only if you're okay with it. Sound familiar? Be honest. Have you ever been in that moment where your nerves spoke louder than you? Where your words came out shaky, and afterward you thought, why did I sound so unsure? Here's the thing, women don't just listen to what you say, they feel how you say it. Your energy speaks before your words ever leave your mouth. If you approach with pressure, trying too hard, filling the silence with nervous laughter, pushing for an outcome she feels unsafe, she pulls back. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." If your thoughts are anxious, desperate, or full of self-doubt, that's exactly what colors the moment. But if your thoughts are grounded, calm, and steady, she feels that too. Presence is about being here. Right now, not in your head, not in a million what-ifs. Think of the times you've been with someone who made you feel at ease. They didn't rush. They didn't pressure. They simply looked at you, listened, and spoke with clarity. That's presence. So instead of saying 10 shaky sentences, imagine looking her in the eye and calmly saying, "I feel close to you. I'd love to take this deeper." No rush, no push, just presence. And here's the beauty. When you stop pressuring, you actually create space. And in that space, intimacy is far more likely to grow.
Insight 3. True strength is restraint.
Let me ask you this. Have you ever seen a guy who pushes too hard? Maybe on a date, maybe at a party, maybe even in your own circle of friends. He leans in too much, talks too loud, tries to make intimacy happen by force. And what happens? She pulls away. The spark dies. That's because real strength isn't in pushing. It's in holding back. Marcus Aurelius said, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." In other words, don't mirror the impatience and desperation you see in weaker men. Think about it. A man who can restrain himself, who doesn't rush, who allows the moment to breathe. That man communicates confidence without saying a word. And women feel that. They feel safer, more respected, and ironically, more attracted. Maybe you've experienced it yourself. The times you tried too hard, it slipped through your hands. But the times you stayed calm, when you didn't need anything to happen, that's when magic unfolded naturally. Restraint is power. It's the quiet strength that says, "I want this, but I don't need to force it." And trust me, nothing is more magnetic than that. Insight 4. Speak less, mean more. Have you ever noticed how sometimes, the more we talk, the less powerful our words become? Maybe you've been there, you like someone, and instead of being direct, you start explaining yourself in circles. You say too much, and by the end, even you don't believe what you just said. Marcus Aurelius had a simple rule. If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. Think about that. Every extra word that isn't honest only clouds your message. Women don't want a 5-minute speech about why you deserve intimacy. They don't need a carefully rehearsed monologue. What they respond to is honesty, short, clear, real. Imagine looking her in the eye and simply saying, "I feel close to you. Can I kiss you?" That one line carries more power than 100 nervous explanations. And let's be real, haven't you felt it yourself? That moment when someone says fewer words but they hit harder? That's presence. That's truth. So remember, don't talk your way out of the moment. Speak less but mean every word. Because sometimes, silence with a single honest sentence speaks louder than anything else. Insight 5. Vulnerability is strength, not weakness. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you held back from saying how you truly felt because you thought it might make you look weak? Maybe you liked someone, but instead of opening up, you played it cool, acted distant, and pretended you didn't care. We've all done it. But here's the truth. Pretending not to care rarely builds connection. Vulnerability does. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Be tolerant with others and strict with yourself." What does that mean in love? It means having the courage to show your human side, while holding yourself to a standard of honesty. Vulnerability isn't about oversharing or pouring your entire heart out on the first date. It's about being real enough to say, "I enjoy being with you," or "I feel connected to you." Think about it. Haven't you ever felt closer to someone when they let their guard down, even just a little? It's in those moments we feel safe because vulnerability invites vulnerability. Here's the paradox. Most men think hiding their feelings makes them strong. But strength isn't pretending you don't feel. It's having the confidence to reveal that you do. And women sense this instantly. A man who can admit he cares, while still being calm and grounded, shows he's not afraid of himself. So don't mistake vulnerability for weakness. It's not about losing control, it's about gaining respect. Because when you're honest, when you allow her to see the real you, that's when intimacy becomes genuine. And that's when she feels safe enough to lean in closer. Insight 6. Timing matters more than technique. Have you ever tried saying the right thing, but at the wrong time? You had the perfect words lined up, the courage ready, but the moment slipped away because she wasn't in the same space as you. It's frustrating, right? Almost like throwing a seed onto dry ground, it won't grow, no matter how good the seed is. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Everything in harmony with you is in harmony with me." That harmony matters in relationships too. Intimacy isn't just about what you say, it's about when you say it. I'll give you an example. A friend of mine, let's call him Sam, once confessed his feelings to a woman right after she had a terrible day at work. She was stressed, distracted, and emotionally closed off. His words weren't wrong, but his timing was. She didn't receive them the way he hoped. Not because she didn't like him, but because her mind was somewhere else. Now think back. Haven't you had a moment where the timing just felt right? The conversation flowed, the laughter was effortless, and the air felt lighter. In those moments, asking her to take things deeper feels natural, not forced. The truth is, women don't just hear your words, they feel the timing. If she's tired, stressed, or upset, even the most perfect line will fall flat. But if she's smiling, relaxed, and open, even the simplest words can feel like magic. So stop obsessing over the perfect technique. Focus instead on reading the moment. Be patient. Let the timing unfold. Because when you align your words with the right energy, intimacy doesn't have to be forced, it flows. Insight 7. Confidence is quiet, desperation is loud. Let me ask you, have you ever been around a guy who just tried too hard? He brags about what he owns, talks over everyone, and constantly tries to prove himself. You can almost feel the desperation in the room. And here's the thing. Women pick up on that energy instantly. Desperation is loud. It pushes people away. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." That's the essence of quiet confidence. A man doesn't need to announce he's strong, kind, or worthy. He simply shows it through how he carries himself. Think about it. Imagine two men. One is constantly dropping hints about how much money he makes, how many women he's dated, and how impressive he is. The other? He doesn't brag. He listens, he smiles. He speaks only when he has something real to say. Who do you think she feels safer and more drawn to? Now reflect for a second. Have you ever noticed how your own energy changes when you're desperate for approval? You speak faster, your jokes fall flat, and your presence feels shaky. But when you don't need anything, when you're grounded and calm, people naturally lean closer. Quiet confidence is magnetic because it doesn't ask for validation. It radiates it. Desperation screams, "Please notice me." Confidence whispers, "I know who I am." And trust me, she will always lean toward the whisper. Insight 8, don't fear silence. Have you ever been on a date and suddenly there's a pause in the conversation? Your mind races, "Oh no, this is awkward. I have to say something, anything." So you start rambling, filling the space with nervous chatter. We've all been there. But here's the truth. Silence isn't your enemy, it's your ally. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Nowhere you can go is more peaceful, more free of interruptions than your own soul." What he meant is that silence doesn't have to be uncomfortable. It can be powerful. Think about the people you feel closest to. Isn't it true that you can sit together in quiet and still feel connected? That's because real intimacy isn't built only on words, it's built on presence. A calm pause, a shared glance, even a quiet smile can often say more than 100 sentences. Women notice how you handle silence. If you panic, she feels your insecurity. But if you breathe, relax, and simply let the moment be, she feels safe. She senses you're grounded enough not to need constant noise. Insight 9. Intimacy is not a transaction. Let me ask you something. Have you ever heard a guy say, "I bought her dinner and she didn't even..." You know how that sentence ends. It's a mindset that turns intimacy into some kind of trade, like money for affection. But here's the truth. Real intimacy can't be bought, bargained, or forced. It has to flow freely, or it's not intimacy at all. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "What is not good for the swarm is not good for the bee." In other words, what doesn't serve both sides doesn't serve at all. If closeness only benefits you, but leaves her feeling pressured or uncomfortable, it's not love, it's a deal. And love isn't business. I knew a guy, let's call him Ryan, who used to go on dates and keep score. If he paid for dinner, he expected something in return. The result? Women could feel the unspoken pressure and they pulled away. He thought generosity would buy him intimacy, but in reality it cost him connection. Now think back to your own life. Haven't you felt the difference between someone giving freely versus someone who gave with strings attached? It changes everything, doesn't it? Here's the shift. When you stop treating intimacy as something to earn, and instead as something to share, it transforms the moment. She feels safe, respected, and truly seen. And ironically, when you take the pressure off, she's far more likely to want closeness because it's her choice, not her obligation. So remember this, intimacy is not a transaction. It's a gift. And the more freely you give, without expecting anything back, the more real and lasting the connection becomes. Insight 10. Rejection is redirection. Think back to a time you really wanted someone, but they didn't feel the same way. Hurts, doesn't it? That sting of rejection, it can feel like a punch to the chest. But let me tell you something most people miss. Rejection isn't the end. More often than not, it's a signpost. It's life nudging you in a different and often better direction. Marcus Aurelius said, "What stands in the way becomes the way." That means the very obstacle in front of you, the no, the silence, the breakup, can become the path that leads you to growth, strength, and ultimately, someone who's truly aligned with you. I'll give you an example. A friend of mine, Daniel, was devastated when a woman he adored told him she just didn't feel it. For weeks, he thought something was wrong with him. But looking back years later, he realized her rejection freed him to focus on his own growth, his career, and eventually led him to someone who loved him deeply, without hesitation, without doubt. Haven't you had moments like that, where at first you thought, this is the worst thing ever, but later you looked back and thought, thank God that didn't work out? That's the hidden gift of rejection. It redirects you away from dead ends and toward open doors you couldn't see yet. So the next time someone walks away, don't see it as a verdict on your worth. See it as life clearing space for something better, something truer. Because rejection doesn't mean you've lost, it often means you're being guided exactly where you need to go. So how do you actually ask her? It's simple but not easy. 1. Be calm, not frantic. 2. Be direct, not manipulative. 3. Be respectful, not entitled. 4. And above all, be present. Picture this. You're sitting with her, laughter in the air, eyes meeting. You take a breath, steady and calm, and you say, I feel close to you. Can I kiss you? That's it. No games, no tricks. Just courage, truth, and respect. And here's the secret, whether she says yes or no, you win. Because you acted from strength, not fear. Remember Daniel? After learning this, he tried again. He stopped overthinking. He stopped fearing silence. One evening, he sat with a woman, looked her in the eyes, and simply said, I feel close to you. May I kiss you? She smiled, leaned in, and the rest? Well, you can imagine. That's the difference between fear and stoic courage. So if you're struggling with asking for intimacy, remember Marcus Aurelius's wisdom. Control your mind, not her response. Be present, not pressured. And see rejection not as failure, but as redirection. Because at the end of the day, intimacy is not about tricks. It's about becoming the kind of man who doesn't chase approval but invites connection through calm strength. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time.